In this video we're going to be looking at how the First Crusade began. Our learning intention is to investigate what led to the start of the First Crusade. Success criteria being to identify what Pope Urban wanted knights to do, to explain why Pope Urban wanted the Crusade, and to explain how Pope Urban persuaded people. So, a little bit of a recap about the Byzantines. The Byzantines had been at the losing end of several battles with the Seljuk Turks. The Seljuk Turks are now moving further into Byzantine lands, threatening its capital city of Constantinople. Constantinople at that time was the largest and most powerful Christian city in the world. The Seljuk Turks were the most powerful Muslim group in the world. And then lastly, the Byzantines decided they needed help from Europe to defend Constantinople. So you've got this situation where a powerful Christian city in the Byzantine Empire, Constantinople, is threatened by an Islamic group in the Seljuk Turks. So, in 1095, the emperor of the Byzantine Empire was Alexios I. He wrote a letter to the Pope, who at that time was Pope Urban II. Both Alexios and Urban II were Christian, although they followed different branches of Christianity. Pope Urban, though, saw himself as a leader of all Christians, regardless of their form of Christianity, and so he believed it was his duty to help protect the Byzantines. Now, some historians think that Pope Urban saw this as an opportunity, so it wasn't just a selfless act. He had many enemies in Europe, and some kings and queens supported his rival to be the head of the church. So he's got competition to be the head of the church, and obviously he wants to hold on to his position. Urban wants to protect himself and his position and try and make the church stronger. So he wants to increase his power and his hold and the church's power in general across Europe. Urban II believed that if he could unite Europe against a new enemy, so deflecting away from him, it would increase his power and control over all Christians. So he sees this as an opportunity to deflect away from the issues about himself onto something else and hopefully try and gain power in the process. So, what happened was Pope Urban II called a council in the French town of Clermont. He put forward there his plans to help the Byzantines. At that council there was lots of important people from both the church and nobles from all around Europe. So they all gathered at this French town of Clermont for the Pope to discuss his plans. This council lasted from the 18th to the 28th of November 1095. So it was a 10-day council. He argued to the council that it was the responsibility of Christians to defend Constantinople. So he was saying to them, it's our Christian responsibility to help. There are Christians in need, and so we must help them. He told them of the rumours of the brutal killings that had apparently happened to Christians. So there are rumours going around that the Seljuk Turks were brutally murdering and killing Christians in the Byzantine Empire. He did that to try and build up support and get the council emotional and invested in helping the Byzantines. He also reminded them of the heroic actions of Christians in the past and suggested the Knights of Europe should do the same. So he's playing a little bit there on the sense of duty and saying how heroic previous knights were, and so he's saying that we should be no different, and so the knights should want to go off and complete this heroic act. However, it wasn't just Constantinople that Pope Urban was concerned with. We've mentioned in the past the importance of Jerusalem, and he reminded the council of that. He reminded them that Jerusalem was currently under the control of Muslims and had been for hundreds of years. As we know, Jerusalem was very important to both the Islamic religion and Christianity. Jerusalem was a holy city for Christians, as that is where Jesus Christ was crucified. So he urged the council not only to defend Constantinople, but also to reclaim the Holy Land and Jerusalem for Christians. He also reminded them of how rich that region was and how much money could be gained from actually invading that area. So how did he go about persuading Europeans to crusade? Pope Urban was asking people to travel thousands of miles and risking their lives, many of which would probably not return home. So he needed to offer them an incentive to make it worthwhile. Many of the knights who he was calling on had been used to fighting in wars, and they were starting to be worried that their killing would result in them going to hell when they died. Because after all, war is killing people, they are murdering people, and that is a sin. So they believed that they were bound to go to hell. Now the Pope saw this as an opportunity, and he declared that anyone who went on crusade to Jerusalem would have all of their sins forgiven. So that meant in return for fighting for God against the enemies of Christianity, they would have all of their sins removed and they would be rewarded with a place in heaven. And remember, in 1095 people are deeply religious, they are deeply concerned with the idea of heaven and hell, and so this would be seen as a massive reward for those knights who until now had thought they were destined to go to hell. So many knights are going to see this as an opportunity of redemption, and that's why a lot of knights were very supportive of going on crusade. So, sources claim that the council, upon hearing this, shouted Deus vult, which is Latin for God wills it. The council had agreed to Pope Urban's proposal, and so the First Crusade was about to begin. So, what you're going to do with that information today is you are going to write a speech as though you are Pope Urban II speaking to the Council of Clermont in 1095. Your speech will need to meet the following success criteria. So, firstly, you've got describe what you want the knights and nobles to do. So, what is it you're asking them to do? That's what you need. Identify where you want them to go. So, where are they going to crusade to? Explain why they should do it. So, why is it that the crusade should happen? What was Pope Urban's motive for telling the knights and nobles of Europe to go on crusade? So not what he was going to get out of it, but his position as head of the church. What was he telling people? And then lastly, explain what their reward will be. So what will they get for participating? There's an extra challenge. Try and include some references to the war between the Seljuks and the Byzantines, including the Battle of Manzikert. So that one would fit in with explaining why they should do it. So including references about that issue. It will also need to include the following features though. It's going to need to be written in first person. It's a speech. Imagining you are the Pope giving this speech, so it needs to be in first person today. It needs to be persuasive. So speeches are usually persuasive. You are persuading these people to do something for you. So it needs to read like that. It needs to have key facts, such as names of cities and religions. And it needs to use emotive language, so that fits in with the persuasion. It needs to inspire people. It needs to build their emotions and make them want to go to crusade to the Holy Land. So, obviously, as this is just one longer task, I expect this to be in-depth and detailed. So, make sure you look back through the PowerPoint, flick back through the video to get some information in order to help you write your speech. Thank you for watching.